Brendan, I think you picked one of the hottest days of the year to look at fires. Right enough, I'm down in Norfolk and it's 34 here at the minute because I'm just back from being in dropping my child off and it's scorching outside. Anyway, this is an aspect 8 next to an aspect 14. And what I'm going to do is show you something. Right, so that pot that's there is oval, but it's about 12 inches long. And as you can see, there's masses of room for you putting stuff on top of that. You'll not have any issue. And the aspect 8 is the same, near enough the same width, but a couple of inches shallower. There's still mountains of space on the top. I think there's as much stove top space in that as there is my domestic cooker at home. But what I'm about to do, and I'd already started doing, is I've got a piece of brown paper that I'm putting on top of the stove. And if I press down all the edges, I can make an exact template of the top. Then I'm going to show you and mark it out. So I've got a cast iron pot on there. And the reason I've got a cast iron pot in there is to stop the paper sliding. Because I've got a video with one hand and mark with the other one. So, piece of A4 paper, and on my display stove, if I just run A4 paper on my backside, brown paper, this was off of a 900mm roll. If I just run my fingers round it, like so, you'll see when I take this off, I'll have an accurate measurement of the top. Okay, so there's your top. So there's your accurate measurement of the top. So now I'm going to do where the flue hole goes. You see? Now the collar sits within that. There's one there. So the collar sits inside that a bit. That's the outer rim for where the collar goes. The collar's smaller. That's about 6 inch diameter, but the flue pipe's 5. Alright. So what I'm going to do now is get that down the floor, mark it out to size with a black marker pen, and then I'm going to put the circles on for the size of your pots, kettles, etc. on there so that you can see how much space you've got, because you wanted to know how much space there was on top of your kettle and stuff. So when you can actually physically see it and try it, you'll see the difference. And then hopefully that'll help and you'll know from there what you want. Okay, so a bit of craft and have for a hot Monday afternoon. Here's your template for the top of your fire. And that's the flue point. Now the flue point, it steps about 1 centimetre in right the way around. That's the outside of the flue connection collar. And it steps in a bit before the upright piece. So you've got a wee squeak more space than what you might have thought then, okay? So we need to see what will fit on here, because that's what you wanted to know. So I didn't have a big cast iron pot in here. The best that I could do was a Rosie's tin. I've got a cast iron casserole dish. Now that cast iron casserole dish, let's take the lid off first. That lid is 10 inches long by a bit more than 7.5. There you go, see it that way? 7.5, but the lid was measured to here. So the overall length is just gone 12 inches. Alright, the empty Rosie's tin. They make good cake tins, these. That is that's 12 inches on the diagonal. So if I mark it at 6 inches and put a dot, so we pull it just a little bit further over and put a dot, we'll see how far it goes. What I've got is I've got my dot on here and I've got a piece of string on the end of my marker pen. So I'm going to measure that out to 6 inches and then we're going to hold it and mark it. I know I need to go and find my gimbal, because at least then I don't need to have to hold the phone, because this isn't an easy thing to do. So with the tape measure, I'm going to measure my piece of string to 6 inches out and then hold the end and mark it on the paper. Right, we're wedged up on logs, but hopefully you'll see. So I've got my pen and I'm going to measure that out to 6 inches. And if I put that on there and draw a circle thereabouts, that inner black line here is how big that pot would be. Now we could easily move that out a bit I've not got it as accurate as it should be. And then that overlap here will fit here. So I reckon your great big 12-inch pot will fit on top of the 8. Now, I've got a great big copper kettle at home. My copper kettle's base isn't any bigger than that Rosie's tin for sure, and it holds about 6 litres, it's huge. So, I think you're okay for size. So, as you mentioned, you could take the flue out the back. My only thing with the flue out the back is if you don't need the flue out the back, I would prefer not to take the flue out the back, because no stove can run as well when it's rear flued as it does top flued, because you get more power and more suction on the firebox. If you do come out with the T out the back, please don't put a horizontal length between the stove and the T, because you're drastically reducing the pool of gases through the flue. It wants to be a T directly onto the back with no additional length in between the two. Or you come out at a 45 onto a booty 135 degree T. Not much else to say on that. I hope it helps. As you know, the 14 is bigger, but the 14 is a massive stove. High heat output, big firebox. Do you really need to burn any more logs? The 8 kilowatt, Aspect 8 is easy capable of 12 kilowatt plus. That's a lot of heat. Most people don't need to be running it at that sort of temperature. That's like 12 single 1 meter wide radiators. So if you're running that 8-10 kilowatt, is that good all day long, or even running it as low as 3 or 4 kilowatt, as I suspect you would have to be doing if you're making a slower cooked stew rather than something that you want to nuke and do very fast. I've got a funny feeling the 14 is just going to be too powerful, but then again, I haven't seen your house and I haven't seen your fireplace. You've just given me a phone or an email, so I can't really comment. This is about the best I can do, other than suggest you make a template at home and try it to the measurements. But that is pretty accurate, and I haven't got your pot to put your pot on here, and I haven't got anything that size. I've got some 9-inch diameter ones, but they literally look lost on the top because both of them are such big stoves. If you've got a big old cast iron one, yes, it takes time to heat up and holds the heat, but it's going to take a lot longer to heat up than what that Aspect will. And that Aspect is one powerful unit, and it does get a lot of heat through the top. Anyway, I'll leave it with you. I hope this helps.